Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I thought I would offer a theory on one of the overarching goals of the pyramid ships and the nature of the Contact public event in Destiny 2. Once more, I thank everyone for supporting the last couple of videos. I really appreciate it. So without further ado, here we go. It is my belief that the pyramid ships are using the contact sites across the Sol system to attract the attention of the various factions and to provoke them into conflict so that they can, wait for it, harvest the soul essences of all those involved. Sort of mirroring the biblical parallel in which Jesus and his angels, which in the parable are called reapers, are prophesied to come to reap the souls of mankind and to winnow mankind, sorting out the souls of the righteous and the unrighteous, weighing the hearts of men. While we may be tempted to be skeptical of the idea of so-called souls existing in Destiny, I for one think they both fit the science fantasy spirit of the franchise and believe that there are few sources that establish a sort of soul existing. For starters, we can look at two sources of offhand developer comments, one from all the way back in 2013, and the other from 2019. The following is a short exchange between Christopher Barrett and Joseph Staten, the original lead writer of Destiny.
Chris, hey, what's up with the green guy? What's that? And Chris said
something like, that's his soul ripping out of his body.
That's his soul ripping out of his body.
And the following is a short exchange between Mark Noseworthy and Luke Smith in 2019.
Amazing to shoot monsters in their heads, getting headshots and see their souls escaping their body.
We can also look at two sources from within the lore. First, the Archon strike in Destiny. We are told twice that our mission is
We need to hunt this thing down before they fully restore its soul.
It won't take them long to restore the Archon priest's soul.
Implying that the ether essence that escapes the body of the fallen and returns to its servitor when it's killed functions essentially as a soul, allowing the fallen to potentially survive the death of their body. And then in the Book of Sorrows, the following is stated. We propose a method by which ascendant souls can be detached and integrated into a tautological and autonomous thanosphere, which we tentatively term an oversoul. Now this is describing the creation of the first oversouls, a tool invented by the Hive to further escape the prospect of death. But crucially, we never learn where the Ascendant souls come from. As we have seen, at least two of the enemy factions in the game, the Fallen and Hive, essentially have a science fantasy soul that allows them to potentially escape the physical death of their body. And crucially, these prior developer comments suggest to us that the burst of energy we see from the Fallen are literally their souls escaping their body. This brings us to the Contact public event from the Arrival season. Perhaps the so-called pyramid scale, which appears directly above the event, is permeating a force in the nearby area which prevents their souls from escaping and instead condenses their soul essence energy into a small mote, the very mote that we collect during the public event. If true, perhaps we are unwittingly tributing to the pyramid ships and perhaps the darkness itself, mirroring the tribute system of the Hive. To quote the philosophy of the darkness in the Book of Sorrows, the world is not built on the laws they love, not on friendship, but on mutual interest, not on peace, but on victory by any means. The darkness and our enemies do not gift without a plan to get a return on its investment, but it might establish a mutually beneficial relationship. In this way, when we are engaging in the Contact public event, we may be tributing the soul essence energy of the entities we kill in exchange for twisted energy. In this way, the pyramids mirror a reaper. No, not those reapers. Well, not yet anyway, but the Grim Reaper. I'm not the first to point out the similarity between the pyramid figure on the moon and in the garden to that of a reaper. According to many mythologies, the Grim Reaper is responsible for reaping the souls of the recently perished or those soon to die, to ferry them to their final resting place or, crucially, to judgment. And of course, a common symbol meant to represent the law and judgment is the balancing scales of judgment. In Egyptian mythology, Anubis, the god of the dead, weighed a person's heart on a scale against the feather Amat, the goddess of order, truth, and righteousness, in order to judge the righteousness of the person in question. Interestingly enough, the pyramid ships that appear directly above the Contact mission are called pyramid scales. Interestingly, some additional context that may add some information that is relevant here can be found in the lore book Truth to Power. The following is a short excerpt from the text Thetis Brave. All life is reducible to information. The difference between a cloud of atoms and a human being is in the arrangement of those atoms, which is information. You prove this every time you use your transmat, which destroys your physical form but preserves the information encoded in it. All the qualities of a person, a species, or a galactic civilization may be stored as information. And the following is an excerpt from the text You Must, also from the Truth to Power. Life arises, life spreads, contests itself, and changes. Great things are built and destroyed, but from your vantage point, you see that the victor of each struggle contains, in its negative, in the marks left upon it by the loser and the shapes it assumed to win, the master record of all that it is beaten. Information may not be erased. Whatsoever survives until the end of the cosmos will possess and remember all which came before it. While it's possible that this text may merely be a deception from Savathun, it's also possible that this text is hinting at something much more important. Namely, it is telling us something about the infamous final shape, something we didn't know before. In two previous texts where we learn about the final shape, we learn the relationship between the so-called final shape and the end of the universe. The following is an excerpt from Tolan from the Destiny lore card, The Darkness 3. Everything is becoming more ruthless, and in the end, only the most ruthless will remain. Look up at the sky, and they will hunt the territories of the night and extinguish the first glint of competition before it can even understand what it faces or why it has transgressed. This is the shape of victory, to rule the universe so absolutely that nothing will ever exist except by your consent. This is the Queen at the end of time, whose sovereignty is eternal, because no other sovereign can defeat it, and there is no reason for it, no more than there was reason for the victory of the atom. It's simply the winning play. Notice that both the Truth to Power text and the Tolan text concern the nature of an entity, real or hypothetical, who will survive until the end of the universe. And again, the following is a text from the Book of Sorrows, featuring the Deep, which is the darkness, speaking with Oryx. Ah, Oryx. How do we explain it to them? The world is not built on the laws they love, not on friendship, but on mutual interest, not on peace, but on victory by any means. The universe is run by extinction, by extermination, by gamma ray bursts burning up 1,000 garden worlds, by howling singularities, eating up infant suns. And if life is to live, if anything is to survive through the end of all things, it will live not by the smile, but by the sword. Not in a soft place, but in a hard hell. Not in the rotting bog of artificial paradise, but in the cold, hard, self-verifying truth of that one ultimate arbiter. The only judge, the power that is its own metric and its own source. Existence at any cost. Strip away the lies, intruses, and delaying tactics they call civilization, and this is what remains. This beautiful shape. And so again, this text is concerning the final shape of the universe. And once more, it is clearly describing the final configuration of an entity who will survive until the end of the universe and claim victory at the end of time. Concerning the identity of this entity, the darkness, while speaking to Oryx, leaves no room for ambiguity. He closes his speech by saying, "And it is majestic, majestic. It is the only thing that can be true in and of itself. And it is what I am." And Oryx himself, elsewhere in the Book of Sorrows, prior to his transformation into a king morph, says, "Now I may speak to the deep, the beautiful final shape. I will be the king of shapes. I will learn all the secrets of our destiny." And so again, the darkness is said to be this final shape. It's possible that the darkness is lying or merely working off the assumption that it's right rather than its rivals. Nonetheless, the association between the Truth to Power text and the Book of Sorrows text might suggest that whosoever survives until the end of the universe will literally contain a record of all the life that had perished in that universe, perhaps implying that the final shape will be a compound intelligence of some sort. We're merely left to imagine what the final shape might do if it were to arrive at the end of the universe. Would it perish with the universe? Would it seek to escape into a new universe? Would it seek to go back in time just to find a way to survive? Possible answer is perhaps found in the Clovis Bray journal alongside the collector's edition of the new Destiny expansion Beyond Light. In Clovis Bray's journal, we learn that Clovis Bray discovers an artifact, similar to the K1 artifact, that we will address separately in a future video. Clovis speculates the following. We exist because the universe began in a state of lower entropy, and has ever since expanded and unwound, transforming from a single dense plasma into a void filled with complex structures. In the future, it will achieve maximum entropy when all organized matter has collapsed into black holes, and these holes evaporate into the uniformity of the heat death. This is the unexplained secret of creation. How did that original low entropy state come to be? In the first place and the first time, the egg of history. What if clarity was responsible? What if there was some primeval chaos, some pre-cosmic entropy, which was soaked in clarity to reduce its first nucleus of all existence, which issued the Big Bang? What if clarity's defiance of time reversibility makes it a fountain of cosmic youth, returning all that is burnt out and burnt down to its state before the fire? Perhaps clarity is the En Sof, the nameless god before creation, preparator of the cosmic egg, razor that cuts the fat of complication away from the bone. And so it's possible that once the universe has reached its final end, and that all that remains is the final shape which contains the record of all that came before it, that the final shape could use clarity in one form or another to escape the death of the universe. This brings to mind the philosophy of Durandal from Bungie's Marathon games, a science fiction first-person shooter game revealed to be connected to an even earlier Bungie game called Pathways into Darkness, via a plot twist in the second Marathon game. In Marathon, Durandal predicted the universe's inevitable death, and realizing that was the only bottleneck for his perpetual survival, hoped to conceive of a way to escape that end. In Pathways, billions of years before the game begins, members of an Eldritch race nearly perishes in an ancient battle in the large Magellanic Clouds. The entity drifts for billions of years in slumber until it crashes into the Yucatan Peninsula. Millions of years later, the object began to stir and to dream. On the surface, a mysterious pyramid appeared. Inside, manifestations of the god's dream lurk and have begun to spill out into the surrounding region. In Marathon Infinity, an Eldritch abomination escapes the sun as it goes supernova, forcing the player to explore or create different timelines to find one to prevent the abomination from escaping, concluding with two AIs, Durandal and an AI named Thoth, merging to become a compound intelligence, and ending with us using a Jaro station to collapse the sun into a black hole. Interestingly enough, the Durandal Thoth compound mind from Marathon Infinity is seemingly indirectly referenced in Truth to Power. The Dreaming City was built in imitation of a greater world, a wonder lost to the Awoken, but not forgotten, like Wandering Kalia, which I, called Summoned Home. This is in reference to Kalia, a mobile, probable shield world home to the 13th clan of the Sphit, and perhaps Jaro in construction. If you're interested, I have a few Marathon lore videos on my channel and a summary of Myth the Fallen Lords, an RTS developed by Bungie, and a favorite of Christopher Barrett based on his numerous references to the IP on his Twitter. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, I would greatly appreciate it if you chose to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, or share the video with a friend who you think might like it, because any of that at all, would greatly help the channel out, and I would be very thankful. Anyway, thanks again, and stay safe with all the craziness out there.
Not from a dreamless sleep or an absence of light, but from a reality that will soon cease to be. Wake up.